You made it. Welcome back, you BEA beautiful souls. Today's video, I just want to go ahead and talk about Darktide because there is a new enemy class, and having a new enemy class is fantastic because it changes up the flow of the game. We're so used to pummeling those trappers and those crushers, and of course those snipers whenever we want. We're so used to it by now, it becomes muscle memory. But when they add something new, something a lot tougher and harder to engage with, the game becomes a little bit more interesting. However, I will say sound design is one of the most important things for any game. It is by far the most satisfying part about Darktide. Whether you're shooting that revolver, your las gun, or even your bolt gun, this game is the best horde shooter out there right now in the market. And so when audio is non-existent for a really powerful enemy class that can team wipe you in matters of seconds, I think there is going to be a problem. Commissar, that right there is the heretic who is breaking the game and kind of imploding the Steam discussions right now. And I think for good reason. There definitely needs to be adjustments to the class or the enemy class, and of course to the player meta. The player meta always in Havoc is you need the bubble, you need double bubbles or just one bubble, and you have to rotate around them, rotate around your cooldowns and whatnot, okay? That's just how the highest levels in 40 will work. But in Arc Maelstrom, something super chill, these guys will absolutely team wipe you because a lot of your randoms aren't going to be paying attention, and that is a krill issue for sure. Now, I'm just going to quickly go over why each class has amazing audio cues to differentiate themselves with, so you can tell them apart and play accordingly. The sniper class, one of the most, I'd say they are the most balanced and interesting classes to fight because they have a red laser that will slowly pan the battlefield, and it lets you know that they are looking for you. And they have an angle, and it's called area denial. Really important, so you can't just go out willy-nilly wherever you want and smack heretics in the head. And when they are about to fire, even when you're not looking, they will do a loud sound, and that will notify you that you need to dodge those. This is essentially the same thing in Vermintide 2, where you could easily dodge any attack whatsoever just by simply listening to the audio cues. So if you are playing without your headphones on, you're probably gonna, if you're looking at the sniper, you will see it and you can be able to dodge just by the animation. However, if there's a lot of enemies coming at you in your face, you might get shot. The shotgun, you hear the pump action, the trapper, you hear their laughter in the background, and their net that will be ready to fire. There is plenty of time to do this. I think it's like maybe 500 or 600 ms before you shoots, and you can dodge whenever you want. The only time it doesn't work is when you're stuck in a wall and when there's a lot of enemies surrounding you. Pox bursters, a ticking time bomb, and when it's going to explode and jump, you will see them jump and the bomb will tick even faster. And of course, with I'd say all the bosses, you'll hear them scream from a mile away and you'll see their HP all the way at the top, unless you're using the UI mod. And that is a really important thing that Darktide utilizes to let the player know that, hey, this is coming right now. And the most interesting part about Darktide is that they throw tons of these enemy types at you, and with the audio cues that you have, you can easily deal with this if you position correctly and work with your team. However, with this new class, the plasma gunner, plasma rifle, you are essentially, the only way you know that these guys are here is when all your toughness breaks and you get that sound effect. That is when you know that they're here. They tend to spawn about 3 or so on average. In Arc Maelstrom, in Havoc mode it's higher, but they'll spawn around 3, and these guys can just show up at one time, or they can spawn at different rates here. They have very fast spawns, and they will flank you and one-shot you. So your situation awareness needs to be absolutely god tier. A 13-year-old on Adderall and being unemployed. to be able to dodge these guys consistently without dying. Now, we've also had silent crushers before, and those were quite a nightmare to deal with, but they were melee ranged focused. They weren't something that could shoot you and one-shot you from 10 meters away. And these guys, you would turn around and 180 24/7 anyways. I would do that all the time. I'm doing 180 spins to check if there's a crusher behind me. And during those times, we also had silent trappers, and those were incredibly tedious to deal with. And so the point of this is that in 1v1s, these guys are probably fine, but they usually spawn in packs of 3 or more, and it's quite frankly impossible to dodge when they have you flanked and when you are surrounded by a bunch of enemy types. A lot of people in the Steam discussions, I wouldn't say a lot of people, there have been some people that have said that, well, you need to play as a team, and granted, yes, but sometimes things can just be unbalanced due to a few bugs, and I'm sure this is probably something that they were working on. But holy smokes, is it ridiculous when you do get just a two-shotted right away and you didn't even know that they were there. Honestly, it can be quite frustrating to deal with, especially to the average Darktide player. What I have seen is that they are basically essentially the captain or a mini captain. They are covered from carapace and flak armor. Carapace is the headpiece, I believe, and then flak is the chest, just like a marauder. So they are incredibly tanky. It takes like 3 hits to beat down a plasma gunner with a zealot eviscerator, and that's without charging, of course. And so when you're spamming attacks on it, you have to charge your heavy attacks and get ready to focus that thing down. Apparently they also use the shotgunner model as well, so their damage doesn't even count as gunner resistance. So that's why so often you lose your toughness in one shot, even though you have like 20 or 40% gunner resistance. And I feel like they definitely should be gunner resistance, or even maybe even sniper resistance, you know. Perhaps that is the case. Maybe they are sniper, but I think they are shotgunners due to the way that they move. And they move exactly like the captain. I mean, as cool as that sounds to have another mini captain, the captains by themselves already are a boss, so we don't need to add another mini captain. And mind you, I will also state that this character, you can't really tell them apart from a lot of the other the hordes. They look really, I don't know how to say this, they don't look that innovative. They're quite frankly like a smaller version of the shotgunner. And it doesn't seem like you can really see them in a horde situation, in my opinion at least. I feel like their gun needs to glow a lot brighter, just like how the sniper does. You can't really differentiate them between maybe a normal shotgunner and a marauder to an extent. I think the marauder you kind of can, because he holds like a huge dual wielding chain axe, not dual wield, but two-handed chain axe. But they look really similar, and I think they need to adjust that and give him a different look, or at least give him a brighter red color when the plasma overheats. You know, perhaps they should even explode once they have done maybe 2 or 3 shots, because by gum, I think if they exploded, that'd be pretty sick, because that'd be the way that they do friendly fire. And like I said, they don't even do friendly fire. Snipers do friendly fire. The Reapers do a ton of friendly fire. You'll see them down a corridor just spamming into their minions. It is hilarious, and they're actually on your team at that point. And so the friendly fire is pretty much non-existent. They'll probably do like a hotfix and whatnot, because this is essential to, you know, making it so that this game is quite immersive to the Emperor. Very immersive. These minions are just trying to get some grub and some cake, but they're just getting mowed down by snipers, and snipers will one-shot other snipers when they're right next to each other. It's honestly hilarious and a treat to see. It makes me laugh every single time. And so by all means, I think these classes are a really good addition to the game, because a lot of high-level players will simply kind of just breeze through, and having these plasma gunners really changes the flow of the game, and it really forces you to play with your team a lot more. I think just having some quality of life changes will make the character or the enemy type a lot more fair and balanced and not so tedious to fight against. And so once those bugs are ironed out, like adding sound cues, like actual sound cues to the character, adding friendly fire, making the character look a little bit different compared to the rest. I mean, my goodness, just give him a freaking bubble like the captain if we're just gonna do that. Like, make him have very low HP. I think he has pretty high HP, actually. It's like 1700 or something like that. He already has really high HP, and giving him a bubble would be pretty freaking crazy, but making it so that he doesn't spawn so much would also be really nice. And I think due to the event, the event is just, you know, exacerbating that, to be honest. So at this moment in time, do I think this character is overpowered? Yeah, I definitely do, and he is quite annoying to deal with. Can he be dealt with? Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, just pick Psyker every single game and throw out those bubbles, you know. And in Havoc mode, throw out double bubbles. You do need a Psyker. Psyker is essential in Havoc mode, and if you play without a Psyker, if you're going all 4 arbiters, then yeah, you'll be fine. But if you're going like maybe a vet, a zealot, an ogre, and if you're doing like a normal build without a zealot, it's gonna be tricky for sure. But if you're running a shield with ogren, and you're going zealot, chorus, shout, spam with the new sets and talent that they have, I still think you're gonna need a Psyker at the highest levels. With the gunners that will mow you down, the plasma gunners will one-shot you and flank you. You gotta pay attention. And so these guys are definitely ridiculous, and I know that the devs are currently working on it. They're gonna add sound cues, and they should add a brighter red plasma gun when they do fire. And one thing too is that why do they have these weapons? Why do they have these weapons from a lore perspective? I didn't know there was so much of them. If we're gonna get into the lore aspect of it, you know, how do they get their hands on this? Someone let me know in the comments down below. I actually don't know, and I honestly would like to see a new enemy faction instead of an enemy type, in my honest opinion. And I just realized that certain moves, like removing all your toughness in one shot, you remember when fire used to instantly delete your toughness? This character kind of does the same too, but to an extent it's not as egregious as, you know, bombers flanking behind you and throwing 20 nades and then you losing all your toughness in a second. This one does require you to be in front of the enemy, whereas bombers just throw it wherever they want. And so that kind of reminds me of losing all your toughness right away, and that was egregious to deal with. I'm so glad that they patched that out, and so hopefully that they do look into this and make it so that you don't just lose your entire toughness and that's how you find out where the enemy is, besides literally spamming 360 degrees for your character and in the map to actually spot the plasma, because they don't announce themselves like the rest of the enemy types. Literally every single enemy type has important sound cues, and people that are saying that, you know, plasma gunners are easy to deal with, I think they're speaking in bad faith here, because Darktide has the best sound design, and that's what they're known for. And so when a character comes out here without any sound cues whatsoever, you can definitely tell that it's undercooked. Having a new player learn the audio cues is so important. So when they see like a plasma gunner just shoot them in the face with no audio cues whatsoever, they're gonna be like, what is going on here? What am I supposed to learn here? Besides, oh, let's just play Psyker. Let's just play Psyker. Yeah, a bubble for every single freaking game, which is fair because this game is supposed to be about teamwork. It'll teach them about, okay, if there's no Psyker. But the thing is, you can't even change your character when you're in the lobby. So I think that's one thing that the developers need to actually look into, because once we do that, then we can start playing like a team. We can start coordinating our talent trees, coordinating our defenses, our offense, and our positioning. Be like, oh, this team doesn't have any Psykers. Let's add a Psyker to our team. I'll switch if I have to, baby. Like, boom shakalaka. Honestly though, I think this character would be a pretty decent counter to Arbiter, because I mean, Arbiter is so strong right now that I think Fat Shark thought that everyone's gonna play Arbiter for a while. Let's add something really strong that will mess up Arbiter. You know, I mean, Arbiter is insane, super freaking tanky, easy to use, and, you know, insane at crowd control and damage. So having this class just counter certain characters right now. I mean, player power creep is such a thing, but also enemy power creep is something that we need to discuss and try to balance that out at the same time. But that's just my thoughts in the matter of hand. You guys know my conclusion here. I've already said it. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are, how your games have been going, and have you guys opened the door and there was 3 of them just ready to shoot you in the face. Like, that's happened to me one time. I didn't record it, but it was hilarious when it did happen. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. That's me yapping about the new plasma gunner in Darktide. You guys know I love Darktide. I love Darktide to death. Love talking about it as well. So we'll talk more about Darktide in the next video. Appreciate you guys stopping on by. Thank you so much. Bye bye. See you later.